All right, welcome back, welcome back. So we are in our fifth session. We are talking about the river, and that is flow in direction. If you followed us along, we are talking about the stages of growth and development inside of influence, inside of credibility, inside of business, inside of your influence, and your speaking skills. These are all kind of correlated together. So here we are in stage 5, and that is flow and direction. All right. This is the stage where you don't see yourself as just an influencer or a content creator, but you begin to create and to build something. And that is, you build the systems, the process, the machine, the business, the product, all of these different things has to come to a point where you see yourself as a builder, okay? And that's what we're going to step in today, is the identity of a builder. Now, why this matters is because we won't build anything sustainable if we don't have a proper foundation, and that is kind of all the stages that I talked about previously. But we won't build anything of greatness, enduring, legacy, if at some point we don't step into the identity of a builder. Because we're not called just to have influence or to have a show or to have a book or whatever it is. We are called to build something that has legacy value that could possibly endure for a couple generations after us. That's what legacy is all about, okay? So we are gonna step into, when you step into stage 5, there are things that you're going to focus on building. And this is going to solidify if you are ready for the next stage. All right. I don't think that anybody goes to level 6 stage that I'm going to talk about if they don't embody the identity of a builder and know what it is that they are going to have to build. All right. So I'm going to get right into this. We're going to get direct to the point. Number 1 is that you are a builder of people. Now, this is twofold. This is first that you've built yourself up and that you know how to influence yourself, engage yourself, you know how to prod yourself to self-discipline and self-mastery, that you are building yourself well. Now, very rarely, and I can't think that I've ever seen this, but there may be some strange thing out there, is that it's really impossible to build other people up in their identity and their self-confidence and who they are, and to encourage and to reach potential if you're not very good at doing that for yourself. Now, there are people out there who try to do that, but they're not really leaders, and that is the blind leading the blind. And that is, there has to be a sense of self-mastery first, that you know how to build yourself well, and so you're able to build other people up vicariously and or because of that, right? What establishes your credibility is self-mastery, and that is the ability to build wealth and credibility, cash flow, influence, and impact. Now, think about it this way, that if you are in the financial sector, all right, and you are a wealth advisor, it would benefit you greatly to practice your own medicine, right? And that is, if you are a wealth advisor, it would benefit you greatly to begin to practice the wealth principles that you espouse, and that your credibility is connected to the application of the principles. Right? And that is, you've put these things to practice, you know that they work, you have created wealth, and thereby you're able to help other people create wealth. That's tapping into the mindset that I'm talking about, is first, you build yourself up well. All right? Now, most of the masterminds that are worth their salt, they've created kind of a structure for self-mastery. And they're all really, really good. And for me, they kind of all go back to, you know, some very, very old principles. I don't know quite where they originate from, but they're really, really old. And that is, you got quadrants of your life, different areas of your life, that each one of those areas needs investment to thrive. And that if you want to be rocking on all cylinders, then you're going to have to pay attention to each area of your life, and you're going to have to make the investments that are required for greatness in that area of your life, right? So all self-mastery programs, all self-help stuff centers around holistic frame of life and you investing in each area of your life so you can live whole, rocking on all cylinders. Now let's say, for example, for this analogy, that building yourself up, there's 4 cylinders. And most of the simple self-help teachings out there just break it down to 4 because it's absolutely too much to think about 8 or to 12 or all these different things. But some of them try to splice up your life into 8 and 12 categories, but it's very, very difficult. So for simplicity's sake, I'm going to keep with the ones that are highly effective that have a 4 quadrant. And that is a 4 cylinders of life. You know, for the warrior code out there, it's body, being, balance, and business. And they've put 4 quadrants, and those are the kind of areas of your life. Now, underneath those categories, there might be subcategories. So for example, inside of your body, there would be fitness and nutrition. Those are 2 different things, that your nutrition is different from your fitness and your exercise. So there's 2 quadrants underneath the body category. But at any rate, so they have 4 different things. And, you know, Tony Robbins back in the day, which I think a lot of this originates from, I don't know where it originated from before him, but they broke it down into family, to health, to finances, and to kind of mindset or spirituality. And they kind of broke it up that way. And so then come like the movements that, well, it's family, faith, fitness, and finances, which is really, really good. I love that analogy too. And then you got some other ones that are out there that are like connection and calibration. But the reality is that all of these self-mastery programs are connecting you to a different quadrants of life, 4 quadrants. And the success holistically is depending upon whether you're rocking on 4 cylinders or not. And this is kind of where they get the kind of have it all lifestyle. And that is that you show up as the most confident, most version of yourself that is reaching your potential. So let me start here of why this matters when you're building influence, okay? And or building a business or building anything great. How you have to be rocking on 4 cylinders, okay? Now let me tell you the reason why. Okay, let's take these 4 quadrants and say that, let's use the family, faith, fitness, and finances model, because it's easy to explain. I don't have to explain what those are. And let's say that you're as well. And that is that you're showing up as a husband, you got communication skills and you're empathetic, you're practicing the love languages and you know what your wife needs and you're being attentive and all those different things. And as far as your kids go, you're investing time into their life, you're affirming them, they know that they're loved and you're spending time with them and you're giving them what they need. Your family's good, okay? On a Richter scale of 1 to 10, you feel like you're rocking a 7. Then you go to your faith. Well, you know, as far as my Bible reading and my prayer, my church attendance, whether I'm growing as a disciple, am I in a small group, am I growing, am I seeing a path where I'm going to step in and lead? Yes, check all the boxes. I feel that, 1 to 10, I'm pretty much rocking a 7 in that category also. And then let's go to fitness. My nutrition's on point, I'm fit, I'm healthy, like things are good to go. I'm watching the things that are coming inside of my mouth. I'm going to the gym, I'm doing exercise. And so on a 1 to 7 in that category, I feel like I'm rocking a 7 too, all right? And then we come to finances. And my business is in a shambles. My financials are absolutely terrible. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I don't have all the buckets set up for the different things in financials. I need to get more revenue in. I'm constantly living in kind of fear and scarcity inside of this department. Okay. So let's say that is a 1 or a 2. All right. So you have a 7 in the other areas and you have a 1 or 2 inside of finances and business. How long do you think it's going to take for that business pain and scarcity and the failure to provide to affect the other areas of your life? It's not going to take long at all. You start living in fear and in scarcity and all of these different things. Your stress level goes up, and then your need to sedate or to find some sort of comfort begins to go up, and all these different things. And that is, there is no possible way for one area of your life not to affect the others. Right? Now, if you've ever worked with somebody who is experiencing a divorce, right? You know that the quality of their work goes down significantly. And that is because the suffering and the pain that is taking place inside of the family realm. And that is all there are is thinking about, how are we going to navigate this divorce? What are we going to do? There's chaos, there's lack of communication, there's all of this. I mean, they're literally, their life is being ripped apart at the seams, and there's no way for them to show up in high business leadership capacity. It is going to affect their quality of life. This is why, if you're going to build anything great, you have to start first with building yourself and making sure that you are personally rocking on 4 cylinders. All right. How's your family? How are you showing up? How's your faith? How are you showing up? How's your fitness? How are you showing up? How's your finances? How are you showing up? All right. And really begin to look at these 4 areas of life, because there's no equation where you build something really, really successful and not build yourself at the same time. This is why people build great businesses and have heart attacks in their 60s. Why? Well, they were focusing on the business, and what did they do? They neglected their family. They threw their family on the altar for their business and for success. They threw their health on the altar, and they never took care of themselves. And here they are at 60 having all of these health problems. And here comes the heart attack, and here comes all of these things. And that is because they never focus on their spiritual life, their health, or their family. And they thought building a great business was going to be something that was going to create legacy. And then they found out otherwise, because they were rocking on 1 cylinder. Okay. There's no equation where you can be rocking on 1 cylinder and build anything great. Start first with yourself. Okay. So the reason why this is important is because under the persuasion that you want to build people and to build others well, you have to have built yourself well. And this same principle goes inside of business. And that is the same kind of 4 quadrants that you have inside of life is the same quadrants that you have inside of business. And the quality of your life, as far as how good it is directly correlated to cause and effect, sowing and reaping. And that is, am I going to pay attention to this area of my life? Am I going to focus on that? Am I going to make the investments required to have a great marriage, to have a great faith, and to have a great business, or to have a great health? Am I willing to do what is required to make the investments inside of that area? Because once you understand this principle, then you can go inside of business and understand that there are 4 quadrants inside of business too. All right? And that is marketing. That is gaining the reputation, the attention, the putting yourself out there, all of this stuff. This is what is considered marketing. And then you have the sales, which are completely different. Now, some of these inside of business, they kind of couple sales and marketing together. But let me tell you, they're absolutely 2 different skills. The skills to market are quite different from the skills to sell. They're totally different, all right? Though they accomplish the same things. The marketing is the attraction method, and the sales is the conversion process or getting somebody to buy in. So the marketing team is the attraction that pulls the people to the business, and then the sales is what gets the conversion. Two separate things. All right. So inside of business, you have the marketing aspect and you have the sales aspect. And then you have the operations, which the operations is anything that is behind the scenes that integrates the systems and the processes. This is the customer journey. This is the delivery. This is the fulfillment. Okay. If you have sales and marketing and you have no operations, delivery, and fulfillment, how long do you think it's going to take for your business to go under? Not very long, right? And if you have operations and a delivery and fulfillment, but you have no sales and marketing, what do you have? You have a business that has a good service and a good product that does not get utilized. And this is why, you have to step into a builder, because to get the machine running, the machine of your life is 4 cylinders. To get the machine of business running is 4 cylinders. And that is, you have to, at the beginning stages, you're going to have to wear all the hats. And that is, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to learn the market. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to learn to sell. All right? Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to step in with the service or the product initially. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to handle the numbers, the money, and the financials. Okay? Now, that's not to say that you don't start with some help, but these are the 4 quadrants of business, and what you're building is directly dependent upon whether you can focus on those different areas and at least get a little bit good at it to the point starting and gaining momentum. All right. Now, what happens if you don't? Let's just say that you have a service and you have a financial, but you don't have any sales and marketing skills. There's a couple different avenues that you can go. Is that you have to have somebody to fill that seat very quickly. Okay. Otherwise, you're dead in the water. Now, if you're on the other side and you got marketing and sales and you don't have the other 2 parts, okay, you're going to have to learn those skills pretty quick. Otherwise, you're not going to have longevity of customers and you're going to develop a very bad reputation. And I see these guys online and people kind of put them on blast. They sold the product and they didn't have the ability to fulfill on the product, and they just kind of string people along, right? There's people out there like that, all right? So the health in the building of a business is directly correlated to these 4 quadrants and my ability to focus on those 4 areas and to get the quality of those areas up. The beginning stages of a business is all idea, it's initial, it's very foundational. You have to assess the skills that you currently have and be honest about those things. This is why it's key to building yourself, to look at the 4 quadrants of your life and to honestly assess those things on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you at? Where are you at in your marriage? On a scale of 1 to 10 in building your business, where are you at with your marketing? Well, how would you judge that? Well, you would judge your marketing based upon the attraction and the people that are getting on sales calls. That is the differentiator of your marketing. Is it getting me on sales calls? The sales key performance indicator is how many proposals am I sending out? How many am I closing? Am I getting sales? 1 to 10. And so if you're starting out in this game and you're like, man, my service is absolutely great. I have a wonderful product, man. I'm rocking 7 to 10 on that. Good. If you are into the numbers and everything is systemized, you got all of your buckets, you got your profit first system, you have integrated your Stripe, your accounts, and all of these different things, and you just got that very good. Good. But if you are a 1 and a 2 in sales or marketing, where do you think your focus should be? Every single day. Every single day. You should be looking at getting your sales and marketing skills up. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to build. And vice versa. It doesn't matter which equation of the pie it is. if there is a strong deficiency in one area, that is going to be your pain, and that is going to be the reason why you cannot build. All right. So honestly looking at the deficiencies and saying, personally inside of my marriage, 1 and 2, you're going to have to focus on that area to get it up. Otherwise, it's going to personally cause you a lot of suffering and bring the other areas down. In business, in marketing, you're a 1 and a 2. You're going to have to find a way to get that up. Otherwise, it's going to bring you down. All right. Build yourself. Build your business. Causes you to build people. All right. So this is a method of, if I can build myself and if I can build my business, and I'm going to step into a product or service that helps build people. Now, from experience, the greatest service-based offerings are those that create an identity shift. And that is the ones that take people from a non-something to something, right? So for example, a theology degree would take you from a non-pastor to a pastor. And so their whole system and process would take you to an identity shift that gets you kind of a new label, right? When it comes to like growth and development, there's nothing more that causes a man grow than to become a husband or to become a father or to become a business owner, because these things create a massive, massive identity shift inside of a person, right? So the greatest service-based offers are going to be those that create an identity shift inside of the person, and that is build people. This is why they call it a service-based business, is because you are serving to help build people. That is the focal point, that is the objective. So when it comes to what we're trying to do, we're trying to make non-podcasters podcasters. And we're taking our system and our processes to take them on a journey to have an identity shift. Now, if you're in the wealth financial department, your identity shift is more connected to from poverty to wealth, from struggling to kind of secure and well off. It's still an identity shift to go from a poverty identity and a scarcity mindset to a wealth and abundance mindset. If your system and process could take somebody from scarcity to wealth and abundance, then you've created the identity shift that is necessary that gets the most success. Now, it's my personal opinion, and you can take this or leave this, but this is decided what I'm going to hang my hat on, is that I much rather sell shovels than to dig for gold. And that is when you think of like the gold rush, like who do you think made the most money or had the most credibility or impact or whatever? Do you think it was the people that were in search for gold, or do you think it was the people who were selling shovels? In my mind, I think it was the person who was selling shovels, right? Because everybody was trying to dig for gold. The percentage of success or people that followed through or people that didn't give up before they struck gold or all these different things. There's so many variables out there according to whether you're going to be successful or not. And so what this looks like inside of business is, yes, digging for gold in the sense of getting clients and gaining influence and all these different things. But what I'm actually doing is my system and process is handing person a shovel so they can dig for gold. All right. The person that creates the shovels is the person that gets the most success in my mind. Now, there are some degrees where this might not be true. But when you think about this iPhone for a minute, okay, this iPhone is a tool and this is a shovel. All right. And the reason why this is a shovel is because this tool can be utilized for all kinds of different things, but let's just say for like a business owner, like my whole business can operate through this phone. And it does. The social media that I post, the reels that I create, the DMs that I slide into, like this is literally a shovel. And so somebody decided to create an instrument that was a tool so people can accomplish something through that instrument or tool. This is why people that help people create courses, help people create books, help people create podcasts, help people create wealth, like all of these different things are highly successful because they've mastered the mindset of, I'm going to give you an instrument and a tool so you can dig, right? So even let's go to the financial side, even if your system and process is an identity shift to go from scarcity and poverty to wealth and abundance, that you are still giving people the tool to do it, right? But think about this is the mindset of more scaled kind of leadership. What is going to create the most impact in people's lives? Me helping a handful of people go from poverty to wealth and abundance, or me creating other wealth advisors so they can do it. This is the same like broker mindset. When you go to a real estate agent or you go to a broker, this is a totally different mindset. The real estate agent is trying to sell one house or whatever it is. The broker is trying to raise up real estate agents. Completely different mindset. And so when it comes to like services and financial, yes, I can help a handful of people, and or I can create all kinds of wealth advisors that can help a handful of people. So I can either help 12 people or I can help 144 people, depending upon the model I choose. And that is, am I raising up leaders to help these people? Totally different mindset. So let's go to Dave Ramsey and John Maxwell for a minute, because they really embody this mindset that I'm talking about. Is yes, they can help somebody one-on-one individually, and they probably rarely do, unless it's very high ticket. Now, some of these guys, to get individual consulting from them, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so they're very select, very few people that they actually help in a one-on-one capacity. But what they have done is created an empire of leaders, that is John Maxwell coaching and Dave Ramsey coaching. And you see the whole empire and infrastructure that they created is they're thinking bigger and better than a lot of people do. And they're thinking of, how can I help as many people as possible? And that's not me down there in the trenches trying to help these people, a handful of people. This is me setting my mind bigger than that, and that I'm going to create this empire and these coaches, and I'm going to equip all of these people so they can help a lot of people. And so vicariously, through the system and structures that they have given, they are helping thousands upon thousands of people, which they can never do as one person. You might ask me, well, Tim, where did they get this mindset from? They got it from Jesus Christ, okay? Like, if you're not open to faith, whatever, but we can still look at the master and the way that he modeled leadership and the development of leaders. Jesus wasn't trying to go out to the whole world as a one-man show, okay? What he was doing was imparting into faithful people so they can carry the burden and they can carry the message, and his spirit and his mindset was going to be embodied by those leaders, and those leaders were going to take it to the ends of the world. And the reason why we are talking about him today is because of this mode and method that he established. All right? In fact, we have created a ripple effect here today. The reason why I am a follower of Christ is because he mentored 12 men. Think about that for a minute. All right? The reason why I'm in the faith today is because Christ decided to mentor 12 men. That's it. All right? Whew, I spent a lot of time on that. Number two is you're a builder of a platform, okay? Your platform is your main home. And I suggest at the beginning that you have one location, because the spray and pray method is not going to work. And that is, you can't have your 6 social media channels and go, well, I'm going to produce content. I'm just going to drop it on all of these different channels and kind of spray it out there and just pray that it works. That's not how this works. All right. And that is, you have to show up somewhere in a more consistent fashion. Here's my personal belief, is that the time that you spent on all these other platforms, if you just invested in the one that got you the most engagement at the beginning, that you are going to be far better along. Now, you could add some of the other ones as you go, like LinkedIn and YouTube and some of these other ones. But I wouldn't invest a lot of time in this mass production at the beginning. I would focus on building a central platform and a location. So for me, it has always been, I'm building my podcast as the platform and I'm showing up on Facebook. Now, this has gravitated to, I've been doing this for years. And so now we're YouTube and LinkedIn. That's it. Now, I may go over to Instagram and TikTok and all of these other things as I grow and expand, but I'm not going to spread myself thin by trying to be everywhere and trying to reach everybody and spread myself too thin that I never actually create the impact. So in this stage, you are building a solid platform. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my podcast. I'm going to show up on Facebook very strongly. And then maybe, I might do LinkedIn or something like that. Or for you, it might be vice versa. That you have high traction on LinkedIn and you think that the lead gen and stuff over there is better and you've proven out a system, then that's where I would spend a lot of time. Okay. Your first sale and conversion should be looked at in how did I accomplish and achieve that? How can I repeat that? And that should be your focus from 3 to 6 months on how can I repeat that same process over again. All right. And for me, that was Facebook. Let me break down to you the strategy here real quick. Is a certain amount of conversations equal to a certain amount of sales calls. A certain amount of sales calls equals to a certain amount of proposals. A certain amount of proposals equals to a certain amount of cash flow. All right? Conversation, sales calls, proposals, cash flow. That's the process, right? And so the question then becomes, how can I get into as many conversations as possible? That's the game I'm playing, right? And so what I determined was, if I get on podcast and get into as many people as possible, then I get into a lot of conversations about podcasting. If I center my social media on Facebook centered around podcasting, I get a lot of conversations about podcasting. If I create a group that is centered around podcasting and people start flooding into the group and I start engaging in conversations with people, welcoming them to the group. Hey, just wanted to say welcome to the group, man. Glad to see you. Nothing spammy, don't do any of those hard sales tactics that everybody else does. Like, drop everything that you've been taught. Get social on social media, provide value, give honest introductions. Don't be a pitch fest. Don't send links. Ask questions, like that sort of thing. So anybody who comes through the group, through the page, through anything, those are all conversations. Everybody gets a conversation. And those conversations, some of them, lead to sales calls. That's it. That's it. Now, it doesn't say that after you exit this kind of building stage that you don't have a better system, but let me tell you, it's workable, it's repeatable, it works. As far as if I had to start all over again, I would do the exact same system. All right. So build your platform, create your community, show up solid inside of one place initially. All right. The next one is you're our builder of persuasion. I've made these all P's if you haven't noticed. You're going to be a builder of people, you're going to be a builder of a platform, and you're going to be a builder of persuasion. If you're going to grow. You're going to have to grow inside of your influence skills. And that is your ability to influence others, right? Now, there's a caveat to this, is that because you have showed up and to build people, your persuasion and your influence has to be connected to the core value of building people. This is what alignment and integrity looks like, is that I'm not persuading people to do something that is not in their best interest. I'm talking to my avatar, and it is in their best interest to show up online, to do a podcast, to network with people, to hone in their speaking skills. If they want to get on stages, if they want to get clients, if they want to make sales, if they want to build businesses, they're going to have to do this thing. So it is in their best interest to do this thing, right? That's where influence and persuasion starts, is that I can prod somebody along because it is their best interest to get off the sidelines and to take action, all right? If it's not in somebody's best interest, then I would hone down the persuasion, because it's not going to be in alignment. It's not going to be good for people, all right? So that goes, then I'm going to focus on my topics, how I'm going to show up, what I'm going to say. I'm going to show up on embodying the principles, getting deep conviction, being passionate about what I'm saying. In fact, in a lot of the books that I read, and I tend to agree with this, in the older books, not the newer books, is that your communication skills start with a passionate desire about the topic of which you're talking about. All right. And whether you do good with your communication or not good is directly correlated to whether you have a passionate desire about what it is that you're speaking about. So I would start there. Fewer topics, strong conviction, a passionate desire for what it is that you're speaking about. Get your stories very, very clear. Formulate a journey. Everything that I talk about is a systemized process. So I'll give you some insights. All right. So most all of my episodes are a transformational journey. And that is, I usually map them out in 7 steps processes. I love 7 steps, number of completion. It's come down from God. Great number, right? So we have this 7-step process of transformation. And that is, whatever it is that I'm talking about, I'm going to map this out in a 7-step journey. So here you're in step 5 of this journey. We're talking about a journey to the ocean, right? And I'm talking about a transformative process that takes you from starting out to get you maximum exposure and influence. And I've mapped that out in 7-step process that is going to take us to there. All right. Next week is going to be a 7-step process about something else. The 3 weeks prior were all 7-step processes to something. All right. Journey, transformative, step process, gap map sort of thinking. This is where we are. This is where we want to go. These are the stages and steps that are going to get us there. All right. And then mapping out your episodes for the same transformative thing is that we start here and you give principles and leadership skills and steps and keys that get the person to what it is that you're talking about. So not only do you have a 7-step journey of transformation this way, but inside of each episode or each chapter, because these are chapters of a book for me, there is a journey that I'm taking them on individually inside of the chapter, okay? I swear, this is gold. If you follow this process, whether it's sermons, books, your solo content, whatever it is, like, take people on a journey. Take people on a journey. Give them a systemized process, okay? That's going to help your persuasion skills. The next is that you are a builder of a product. Now, this is fleshing out your service-based offering. What exactly is the journey that you're taking people on? What are the pillars of that journey, right? Once again, pillars are the thing that holds the pathway up. When you think of a pillar, right? The pillar holds the pathway. You're promising a transformative process from here to there. Your pillars are the truth that gets people to the other side. Your systems and processes, okay? So when it comes to a service-based product, that's what you're fleshing out. These are my pillars, and this is what it's going to get people to the other side. So you're building something that is a clear result, a clear outcome that you are promising and that you are getting. Clear, super clear. Clear transformation, clear process and method. Your price point is clear. Your transformation is clear. Everything is clear. All right. Number 5 is you're building a pipeline. You see, river is a pipeline. It's a channel. You think of this as like a conduit. The river is the conduit or the pipeline that is going to get you to the ocean, maximum cash flow, influence, and impact. Okay. And that you are inside of a pipeline that is taking you there. Now, the same is true for your pipelines inside of your business. In order to feed your business what it needs, you're going to have a pipeline. A pipeline inside of getting customers is moving somebody from stranger to buyer. And there is a system and a process to get somebody from stranger to buyer. Inside of the customer journey, there is a transformative process inside of that journey that gets somebody from starting your program to completing your program and executing the things inside of your program, okay? And that is a pipeline, a system and process that gets them to start to finish. See, all a pipeline is a system and a process. So what is going to get people to take action? That's what you got to be asking. So me as a marketer, I'm constantly thinking of the person who is in pre-contemplation stage. And that is, they don't really know that they want to create influence. They don't really know that they want to start a podcast or be an author or be a creative or an influencer. They don't really know. So I talk to that person. And then I'm talking to the person that is kind of initially just knows that they should do, right? They know that the key to building their brand is going to come on influence and credibility and all those things. And so they kind of know that. So I'm talking to that guy of, you're contemplating this, you bought the mic, you've been sitting there, you've been thinking about starting a podcast for 3 years now. You know that you want to be a coach, you know you want to give people leadership skills, you know you want to walk people through financial success and prosperity, you know that you want to help people with fitness coaching, right? All of these different things. And so talking to that person. So inside a pipeline for me is, how do I get that stranger to become a follower? And how do I get that follower to become a lead? And how do I get that lead to become a buyer? These are questions that you're going to have to answer in the builder stage. All right. Is it simple? Is it predictable? Is it repeatable? Build the pipeline. Number 6 is building the processes behind everything inside of influence to business, whatever it is, there's a process. If you don't think there's a process, go ahead and execute and carry out, and then begin to look at that and see what the process was, because there was a process, right? Process of going live on here, right? So what this process look, going live on here, well, before even I go live, there's a process that happens way before I go live, right? And that is the mapping out the skeleton of the structure of the 7-part series that is transformative, that takes people through different stages and all these different things. Then it's the skeleton of the episode and the mapping that out and getting a sense of confidence, looking at my own life and connecting it and feeling confident that I'm able to speak about this thing. And then I come on and I set everything up, the lights and everything, and I hit record and I go live. And all of this thing is a system and a process. And then after it goes live, it's downloaded from social media. And then it goes into Adobe Audition, where all the pauses, ums, and ahs are all taken out. The audio is enhanced. The captions are put in, like all of this different stuff. And then the transcript, it's like this whole process before this is delivered live on YouTube or given to my audio systems and programs. Everything is a process. All right. Everything is a process. So during this building stage, you're building your processes, you're mapping them out, and they're getting solid and they're getting clear. All right. Number 7 is that you are a builder of a publishing system. You are operating your machine. It's like clockwork. You show up and you do these things. You weekly got the system going. You repeat it. You plan, you produce it, you repurpose it, you publish it, you promote it, and repeat, repeat, repeat. It's all the same thing, a system. Number 8 is you're a builder of profit. Now let's get real. The river is where creativity gets a backbone. And that is you're starting to get the flow. And that is you're starting to create some sort of cash flow. And let me tell you, cash is a payment for services rendered. It is a win-win scenario. Let me explain what a win-lose scenario is. They get everything, all of your expertise and everything that you're about, and they get it for nothing, which is going to communicate that it's very little value because it didn't require anything on their part. But they get everything, and then in return, you get nothing. How long do you think you're going to be in business? Now, you can operate a nonprofit like that if you have people outside that kind of fund the mission. You can kind of operate with that mentality. But when it comes to a business, there is no such thing as not creating wealth and money and cash flow, because that is the fuel that funds the mission. Even a nonprofit is going to have to get fuel for the mission. It's not being greedy. Profit means that somebody else has found value in services rendered, and so they are ready and willing to invest in you. That's it. And lastly, you're a builder of a personal brand. Not just content, but there is content. Not just coursework or a system or a process, but there is. But a business, an infrastructure, a system, something that builds up you with cash flow, with credibility, with influence and impact. The things that you want inside of this life. All right? A personal brand is that you have become the guy. I don't know what guy that is. I know what guy I am. I'm the podcast guy, right? You could be something else. And that doesn't mean that your identity can't expand, but you are that guy. You're that guy. You're that guy that causes people to lose weight without health, dieting fads and drugs. You're that guy. Oh, you're that guy who helps people with their financials. You're that guy who helps people inside of their leadership skill. Oh, you're that guy who creates authors, right? And so you want to be that guy. And one thing that I've noticed is in the past is when people are not in alignment, they have a resistance to being that guy. And that is because in their heart, they don't want to be that guy and they want to be somebody else. There's 2 reasons why this happens, okay? The one reason, as they see the future vision of themselves inside of the ocean, and it's kind of elite, and they see all of these elite guys, Tom Bilyeu, Gary Vee, Alex Hormozy, like all of these elite guys that are far beyond in the level. And so they see those guys and they want to be those guys right now. And so they want to act and behave like those guys. And so being the financial guy or the podcast guy or whatever it is kind of guy, the course guy, that they have a rejection and a shunning and a putting that off. Not understanding that all of these guys started out as that guy. You look at Brad Lee. What did he start out as? Courses. He was the course guy. Has he transcended that identity? Yes, absolutely. But he got famous and well known because he was that guy. He was that guy who built an empire and a business centered around getting your course out there and getting it done in a very professional manner. He was that guy, all right? We go to John Maxwell. Man, we've been reading his books I remember when I was a pastor and reading his books, and this is like, I don't know, in the 2000s, like I was a licensed minister at 21, so it was a long time ago. We're talking about 25 years ago. John Maxwell was the leadership guy, and he was mainly the leadership guy for pastors. And he communicated in a way that was a little bit more open. So he communicated spiritual things and about God in a very acceptable manner. And so he became a little bit more open to kind of generalized leadership. But at the beginning, it was just like all of us pastors were just eating all of his material up because he was that guy. The same thing with Dave Ramsey and financial prosperity and connecting with all of these different churches and bringing in financial realms inside of churches, is that he was that guy. All right. You want to be that guy. Embrace that guy. So the other thing that causes us to reject that guy is, like I said, was projected out into the ocean. But the second one is that in alignment with your insight, that you don't actually want to be that guy. You don't want to be the financial guy. You don't want to be the podcast guy, course guy, financial guy. Let me tell you that if there is an eternal resistance to being that guy, you are not going to break through. It's impossible to break through if you don't embrace that guy, whatever that guy is. The momentum that is going to cause you to break through to the influence that you are looking for is coming from embodying that guy and whatever that guy is. Embrace it fully, all the ramifications of it, without shame, without whatever. All right. I have no problem being the podcast guy. Did I have a problem previously being the podcast guy? Yes, I did. And the reason why is because I was looking at the end of my days and the legacy that I wanted to leave, and being the podcast guy was not it. Oh, Tim, the podcast guy. I'm like, no. And that's because I didn't understand the transcending of identity and the growing. Because let me tell you, this is starting out as the podcast guy, but it's going into the influential business builder, brand builder, to the man who knew how to exit a company. This is going like bigger and bigger and bigger, all right? It may start out as the wealth management guy that turns into a wealth management empire. It may start out as the podcast guy that turns into a podcast mastermind network empire. Okay? You get the thinking. So embrace being that guy. If you don't, you're not going to bust through to the other side. You just stop right here at stage 5, go no further. Okay? You're going to have to embrace being that guy. I'll see you tomorrow.